What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you've been on AI YouTube recently, you'll know that MCP is the next hot thing within AI right now, and rightfully so. This will completely change the way we interact with AI forever. Or maybe you missed all the updates, or you still don't know what in the world MCP even is. Well, don't worry, in this video, I'll completely break down MCPs, and in just 15 minutes, you'll be an expert in all things MCP. And we're even going to create our very own simplified N8N version of an MCP within Docker. This will single-handedly make N8N the most powerful tool within your AI arsenal. By the end of this video, you'll have an N8N AI agent set up running locally in Docker with a complete army of installed dependencies to scrape websites and send you messages on Discord like this about what stocks your favorite politicians are buying and how much they're buying, with links to the actual trades showing all their executions. Now, I could read you through this documentation and mention that MCP is like a USB port for AI applications, which is a very good analogy, talking about how it's a standardized way to connect your devices, various different tools and accessories, but on a very high level, Model Context Protocols, or MCP as everyone's calling them, are essentially a standardized package of instructions that defines how models should interact with and utilize specific tools or capabilities. Think of a LLM or model as a master delegator now, and it uses these MCPs as a part of its team to delegate specific tasks to do. Each MCP is a connection to an expert in its very own domain. These MCPs can reduce workload, provide consistent results, and reduce time spent on tasks. Now, these MCPs provide a consistent framework for models to understand how to access, interpret, and use specific tools. And they do this by having a structured interface. In our case, we're going to have specific endpoints with defined input and outputs, HTTP requests, and JSON outputs, while all having standardized interaction patterns. MCPs also have domain-specific functionality, so basically being a subject matter expert in one specific tool and handling all use cases for that tool. Abstraction of complexity, which is making the front-facing element simple while having a very complex backend, such as this. And the most important part about MCPs is that it provides predictable behavior. It returns consistent, structured responses for given inputs. And that's because it gives a protocol for how the models interact with all these different tools. Okay, yeah, that's great and all, but how does that even begin to help N8N? And before everybody tears me apart in the comments, I'm putting big quotations around this being an actual MCP server. What we're building mimics everything that an MCP is at a very high level. So if you've been working with N8N, you'll know the main issue with this environment is that you can't download and run packages to run more complex code. And to give an example or a breakdown of a potential package would be Puppeteer, which is a web scraping tool that can open browsers and do things for you completely automatically. Puppeteer is a very useful scraping tool and can be used for numerous different things. So if you could download and run packages such as Puppeteer or many of the other ones, you could make your N8N workflows way more powerful. And if you could call and run nodes with downloaded packages, then there wouldn't be this problem with N8N at all. And by building our own, and I'm going to put quotations around this, our own MCP server, we can 10x our level of output with our workflows. So our goal for this project is to create an MCP-like server with a structured interface, with API endpoints, where we can connect and run our downloaded packages such as Puppeteer via HTTP request. Next, we're going to have domain-specific functionality by this tool being specialized for scraping this Capital Trades website and returning all trades from specific politicians. So through Puppeteer, we'll set up all these different API endpoints to be able to pass on different variables and scrape this website specifically for returning all trades, trades of specific size, or if you have a favorite politician that you really love, you can scrape to see only their specific trades, or by ticker. And some of you may say, well, I can do this in Firecrawl or different scraping tools within N8N, but this is multi-use. You can build this as robust as possible, and it's completely for free. And I thought it was a cool enough project. And this gets right into the abstraction of complexity that defines a MCP server. We have all this logic running in the background, while in the forefront, it's a super simple AI agent that anyone can build in maybe 3 seconds. And lastly, we need to check off the box of having predictable behavior. So we need to know that we need to have consistent protocol for passing data between systems, which is the APIs, and it returning a consistent structured response, which is the JSON response that we're giving back to our AI agent that is then summarizing and sending us a message on Discord. So let's get right into it. I had so many people reach out after my last video where I did something very similar. I'll link that video here. Everybody wanted me to show a similar project if I were running N8N locally. So I hosted a poll within my community asking everyone what they would like to see most, and Docker was the runaway winner. So guys, if you want any templates from this video or any past videos of mine, or you want to vote in the next poll, then join the community where I'm going to be posting all this. The link will be in the description below. But if you have N8N installed in Docker already, you can skip to the next chapter. So let's get into Docker. So we want to go to github.com/N8N-IO, and this will be their main page to be able to install anything that you need. You'll scroll down and go to the self-hosted AI starter kit, click that, and this is the full repo for this. You could also go directly into your Docker desktop, search N8N-IO, and install the version there. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to go through GitHub since they do have some very good instructions and it can be a little bit helpful. So in this download, you'll get more than just the self-hosted N8N. If you don't want all this extra stuff or you don't have the space for it, then look at just installing N8N by itself. But in this startup kit, you get self-hosted N8N, Ollama, Quadrant, which is an open source vector store that you can run locally, and many more. Now you'll want to scroll down to the instructions down here, and it shows you the instructions for running N8N using Docker Compose. So per your system, you'll go through any one of these setup instructions. So I'm going to open up my terminal and paste that in, and it's going to start cloning. Then I will change the directory and do Docker Compose profile up. And guys, if you don't have Docker Desktop already installed, go ahead and do so before you do this. You'll just need to go to the Docker website, follow the very straightforward Docker installation process, and come right back here and enter. And based on how good of a computer you're running this on, this could take a little bit of time or a lot of time. And if you have Docker Desktop open, you should be seeing some images pop into your Docker Desktop at the moment. And you can see that they were all created. If you get this error with the Ollama Docker download to the WSL environment, if you're on a Windows machine, you'll probably see this. I'm shooting this on an old computer that is not my normal setup, but if you see this, you can remove GPU requirements from the Docker Compose YML file or set up proper NVIDIA GPU support with WSL2 just to be able to run that Ollama instance. We're not going to be using it in this video, so this doesn't matter for me, but if you are curious. So now if you open your Docker desktop, it should look something like this, and you'll see that Ollama, N8N, Postgres, and Quadrant. And if you go to your containers tab, you can see all your newly built containers here. Then you'll go to localhost :5678, which is the normal N8N port, and you'll log in. Once you log in, it'll ask you all these follow-up questions. You can put whatever you want in here, and you are in your locally hosted N8N instance. You can click start from scratch, and we're in. Now next we want to hop over to Cursor, open a new project. I have a blank folder here, and we can begin building our scraper. But before we jump right in, I want to hop back over to the website and make sure we're all on the same page. Scraping the capitaltrades.com URL to get all this data on these politician buys or sells that are disclosed to the public. But to show you in a more visual way what we're going to be doing, if you notice the URL, whenever I select nothing, it's capitaltrades.com/trades. And if you do 1 million to 5 million, it's trade size equals 8. Or if we do 5 million to 25 million, it also adds an and symbol, trade size equals 9. And those are kind of the API endpoints and the different instructions we're going to be passing on to the scraper on how to do this. Just like, for instance, if we want to go to asset type, we can go to stock. And that will have another update. So you see type equals stock. And that's how all these URLs are working, and that's how you scrape. And if you've been working with N8N and passing on parameters, you kind of have an idea of how this works. So hopping back to Cursor, we need to build this. So you see I have a blank Cursor project open here, and I'm going to paste in a prompt here. And this prompt will be completely included in my community for free, where you can copy it and paste it into your own cursor if you wish. But essentially the prompt is just saying, set up a Node.js web scraping application that uses Puppeteer. And it just kind of goes through how the API routes are going to be, how the Docker files should be, and just the overall file structure. And if you don't want to use the prompt, simply just explain to Cursor that you want to set up a Node.js file that uses Puppeteer to scrape the key information and give it the API endpoints that you would like, such as /trades, by politician, etc. And then include something about how you want to Dockerize the file. And on containerization, create the Docker file with hot reload support. I think that's important, as a hot reload will allow your Docker container and this project to synchronize with each other. So if you have to make any updates, it'll auto update and you won't have to rebuild the container or image every time you make any changes, which really helps whenever you're within N8N and you may have to troubleshoot something or something's not working correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and run this script, and I am on YOLO mode. I don't recommend this for everything, but for this tutorial and this automation, I thought it would be fun. And I most likely will speed up through a lot of this process, as it may take a second. All right, and it looks like our project was set up. And let's go ahead and try to run it. I'm going to do npm install to install the dependencies with this project and set up all of our node modules. And I'm going to try and run it. And we may get an error here, but this is the first run. So let's hop over to our web browser, localhost 3001. And we did get an error here, but it shouldn't be too difficult. We'll just hop back to Cursor. Accessing the path icon not found. And then I'm just going to paste that error in as well. Now, obviously, if you wanted to make this process a little easier and have more of a hands-on approach, you wouldn't give it a full prompt and go YOLO mode on it so you can know what you're doing. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I decided to go large from the beginning. So it's spit out an error here. It's just saying that it's the 301 is already in use. And this is a problem that I see with Cursor, especially whenever you're running on YOLO mode like this. It'll forget to kill the previous run before it starts the next one. And this is really important whenever you're going into Docker or trying to set this up as eventually being a Dockerized file within a network to connect to N8N. You want to make sure that Cursor is not going to change the port that this is pointed to. You want to make sure that it's always killing the previous run and staying with the same port that you allocated to it. So I'll just give this you forgot to kill previous starting new. So it looks like that was successful. Let's just go ahead and refresh this. Okay, perfect. And we have actually set up a index file for this to be a little bit of a nicer landing page for this, with all of our instructions, available endpoints for our health, configuration, clearing cache, get trades, politician ID, And it actually gave us links to that, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's just go into trades and see if it's actually okay. Perfect. And this is exactly what we wanted. You see that it's giving the politician name, the ticker name, ticker, when it was published, the trade date, when it was filed, and the size of the trade. So this is actually perfect for everything that we need. So now that we have that basically set up, we next need to Dockerize this file. And we're going to Dockerize this file, create an image and container for it. And once we do that, we're going to be able to set up a network within Docker and connect our N8N container with this new project's container and have them under the same network so they can talk back and forth. Let's hop back over to Cursor. So to Dockerize this file, we're going to give it a prompt. Actually, let's open up a new chat window, drag all of our Docker files that it's set up in here. And this is, you could also add Docker's documentation on how to do this as well as a docs in here. I'm not going to, but that would be a solid practice to get into. Analyze the project, make sure all of my Docker files are set up correctly to build image and container called stock. Review the Docker files and make sure they're configured properly. Build the Docker image, and I'm just going to send that. Oh, commands to set up the and hopefully there's an MCP in the near future that will be able to seamlessly do all this for you. So the build was good. Now it's creating the network. It first checked that if the network already existed. It doesn't. Now it's going to create that network. Okay, now you're saying it's set it up. And I actually made an error. I already have something running within Docker that has port 301 or 3001. So it just moved everything over to O2. But like I said previously, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to what ports you're using and that everything is pointed to the same port across the board, or else you will have some problems. And make sure that Cursor isn't continually changing the port every time you iterate whenever it fails to kill the previous run. So we can hop over to Docker Desktop, and we can see that here is our image. We can go to containers and see that here's our container that is running. So we can click this and boom, we have set that up correctly. So now next thing we need to do is we need to make sure our N8N container is connected to the same network that we just set up. So to do this, we can go to our terminal and see what is connected to our network. So do Docker network and just type in the network that you created. And you can see that currently we have stock analysis connected to this network. Now to connect our N8N import, we need to make sure we know the name of our N8N container, which is N8N import, and we need to make sure we know the name of our network, which is stock analysis _ stock analysis network. Could have named that a little bit better, but so to connect these, you would do Docker network connect, and you could probably also do this in the chat agent. I just want to walk through this. So we do stock, copy this, we do connect stock analysis network, and then you just put the container that you want to connect to it and enter that, and there we go. And then we can, to see what all containers are connected to the network, you can just do Docker network inspect and then paste in your network, and we should see both of them in there now. We have stock analysis, and we have N8N import. So now they are both in the same network and they're able to talk to each other. So let's go back to N8N and see if they work. So we can do HTTP request to test it, and you'll need to get the API endpoints. So that it'll be structured as your Docker container / whatever port that is pointed to. If you don't know, you can just go back to Cursor and change this to chat and do set up in my containers are set up with my network. Please give me a list of instructions using the API endpoints within this Docker network, and just send that. And Cursor will know what N8N is and how this works. And so you see it will give you the HTTP request configuration, which is going to be stock analysis and the ports. So to test this, we can do just this first, back to N8N, paste this, and test step. And our connection was successful. Perfect. And it's given all the HTML from this, from the original landing page, but we can do this, trades, and test this. And voila, we have the politician, we have the ticker, we have the size amount, trade ID, perfect. So this works. And it's only showing 12 because that's the page size. If you wanted to make this more intricate, you could increase the page size, increase the values that are returned, and get a fuller list. But let's keep going here. Let's go ahead and delete this since we know it works. Set up a chat trigger connected to an AI agent. Perfect. Give it a model. Just go to an AI chat. Let's stick with 4 mini since it's going to be a test period. Select your credential. And since this is a newly set up N8N in Docker, since I did it from scratch to show it in the tutorial, I don't have a key in there, but I will link a video to get the API keys and how to set up your credentials. Test this, successful, memory, and we're going to give it a tool, which is the HTTP request tool. And we're going to set this up the same as what we had it previous request node. We just had to delete the other one because it doesn't work with N8N agent as a tool setting. So we'll just follow this tool to get position trades, rename, and we will give it the same URL. Copy this here, paste, and this is where you could send multiple parameters, headers, body, but let's keep going with this. And then go with the agent, add a system message. You are hedge fund associate, publicly released. Call the get underscore write a short summary. We can add that and we can try it out. Great. And see what we got. Oh, I see the problem. We didn't. Let's do trades. Delete that. Save this. Open chat. Reuse the message. It should work a little bit better now. Okay, and boom, we have our entire summary of the latest trades. And we could also change our code to give us different outputs that include links or what have you. So we'll stay there, and we are going to connect Discord to send us a message. Set up your own server. Go to server settings, go to operations, go to webhooks, new webhook, and you can copy the URL here. And you can give it whatever channel you want to post in, but so then we go to Discord, go to send a message, and I'm going to go by webhook. And then create new credential, paste that in there, save, send a message, and put the output in here. And we are going to test this step. Success equals true. Let's go ahead and see if, let's pull up Discord and see if we got it. Okay, so Captain Hook here posted all of our trades inside of Discord. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So guys, there you have it. I know I'll catch some hate saying, oh, that's not a real MCP server. And of course, I know there's not actual MCP servers for N8N connectivity yet. But at a very high level, we successfully accomplished to mimic what an MCP server is in terms of N8N. So we have a structured interface with specific API endpoints, defined input and outputs with HTTP endpoints and JSON, with standardized interaction patterns, domain-specific functionality. It's specified for this Capital Trades website. There's specific use cases for it to return summarizations. There's abstract complexity with having Puppeteer set up in the background, but in N8N, you only see the connection endpoint and the instructions to how to use that set up within our AI agent. And there's predictable behavior when using this API endpoint. You know that whenever you pass instructions on to get trades, you will get all the trades returned. So on a high level, we accomplished everything that we set out to do. And if you liked this video or found any value in it, like, subscribe, comment, join the school community where you can download them there. Or if you have any questions, join it and shoot me a quick DM. But until next time, see you guys.